Mila, this is the preliminary examination from 2023. I got it and it was written by Crawford International. Let's get straight to it. So this is question one. I'm going to show you questions first and take around 10 minutes. Let me just show you all the questions and you can take around 10 minutes. And this is just for question one. You will take around 10 minutes to complete all of them. Obviously, to write them down, guys, you just have to pause. I showed you the previous ones. You pause, you write it, and then you go to the next one, you pause, and you write it, okay? Let's get to this one here. They asked us to solve for x. This is an equation. You need to write that equation in standard form, and the standard form will be ax squared plus bx plus c is equal to 0. You always you look at one side where the variable has the highest exponent. Where the variable has the highest exponent, you keep those terms there and you have to transpose the other ones from the other side. Here we have the variable x, and x on the left-hand side is 2x squared, so it has the highest exponent, meaning that all the terms on the right-hand side must go to the left-hand side. That means x plus 1 must go to the left-hand side. We've got two terms there. X is positive. When you transpose it, moving it to the other side of the equal sign, we say we are transposing. When you transpose it to the left-hand side, because it is positive, it'll change signs. And it'll change from being positive to negative. If it was negative, it was going to change from negative to positive. Now, for this one, when you transpose x, it'll give you negative x. When you transpose 1, it'll give you negative 1. To simplify this, remember, you can only add or subtract like terms. Terms are like if they have the same variable and the exponents of those variables are also the same. Those two conditions, both of them must be met for you to say terms alike. Now, you can't say 2x squared and minus x are like terms. They have the same variable, but you will notice that the other one is x squared. The other one is just x. Those are not like terms because they fail to meet the second condition, where the exponents must be the same. So we can say minus x and minus x are like terms, and 1 and 1 are like terms. Obviously, 1 doesn't have any variables, so they're just numbers. They're like terms. Minus x, same sign. You therefore add and keep the sign. So minus x will be 1 plus 1 is negative 2. X, you keep the variable as it is. You add the coefficients and you keep the variable as it is. So 1 plus 1 will be 2. So we're going to have negative 2x. When it comes to 1 and negative 1, those they cross out, not really cross out, but 1 minus 1, guys, is 0. So you will be left with 2x squared minus x is equal to 0. Now this is how we write it in standard form. We need to factorize. That is the next step. To factorize this, because we only have two terms, you can start by taking out a common factor. Even if you have 3 terms or 4 terms, you always start by taking out a common factor first, guys. Okay, that's the mother of all factorization. To factorize this, I notice that in the first term, I've got x squared, 2x squared, 2x squared, 2x, 2x. And in the second one, I've got negative 2x, 2x. Do you see? Those are common. 2 is common and x is common. Obviously, when it comes to the 2's, I'll just take it out as a common factor. But when it comes to x, you only take the variable with the lowest exponent. So the second term has the lowest exponent, which is 1, and that is what will be your highest common factor. So our highest common factor here will be 2x. In brackets, you will be left with x minus 1. Note that to check if your factors are right, multiply them out. So 2x times x will give us x squared, so that one is correct. 2x times negative 1 will give you negative 2x, so that is also correct. That's how you check if your factors are correct. Now, once you have factorized, we are going to use the rule that if you have two factors multiplied and the product is 0, then one or both factors must be equal to 0. We have two factors, which is 2x as well as x minus 1. Remember, brackets makes terms 1. So I'm going to take 2x and equate it to 0, or x minus 1 must also be equal to 0. For us to have a product of 0, one of the factors must be 0. It comes from that. In the first factor to solve for x, we are going to divide both sides by 2. And 0 divided by 2 will give us 0. In the second factor to solve for x, we have to transpose 1. When you take 1 by isolating x, you have to transpose that negative 1. When you transpose negative 1 to the right-hand side, it will change sign. Currently, it is negative. It will tend to positive. You will have x is equal to 0 and x is equal to positive 1. And this is how I will allocate marks for writing it in standard form and for the solutions. Because factorization, it's obvious. Okay, let us move to inequalities. When it comes to inequalities, students, yes, you tend to treat it differently to equations, and I don't know why. The only difference between this and equations is that it doesn't have the equal sign. It has the inequality less or equal to, or less or equal to, or just less or greater than. That's it. But the steps are the same, so we still write it in standard form. To write it in standard form, obviously the variable here is on the left-hand side and it's positive. I will have to transpose negative 24 and move it to the left-hand side. And when you move it to the left-hand side, it will be positive 24. Now, the problem is breaking that bracket. To break that bracket, you will distribute the exponents inside the bracket. The exponent of x is 1. The exponent of 2 is also 1. So both will be multiplied by that 2. So 1 times 2 will give us x squared. 1 times 2 will give us 2 to the exponent of 2, which is 4. So there's 1 there. So 1 times 2 will give us 2. So it'll be 2 to the exponent of 2, which is equal to 4. The problem is the denominator now, because we want to factorize, but we can't do that because of the denominator. I know most of you will be told to multiply everything by 4. And probably some of you don't understand why you have to do that. Well, it comes from what you learned in grade 8. When you add fractions, it needs to be fractions. So I'm going to take all those terms and divide them by 1, the ones without denominators. Then you look for LCD, which is just the lowest common multiple. Remember that from grade 8? Here, the lowest common multiple, the lowest multiple that the denominators have in common will be 4. We call it LCD, obviously. Then all your denominators must have a denominator of your LCD, which is 4. The first one already has a denominator of 4, but the second term has the denominator of 1, and the third term has a denominator of 1, and the term on the right-hand side has a denominator of 1. We need to change all of those to 4. So each of those terms will be multiplied by LCD divided by LCD. So it'll be multiplied by 4 divided by 4. The first term, obviously, it will remain the same. The second term, numerator times numerator. So it's 5 times 4. 5 times 4 will give you 20. So that will be 20x. 24 times 4 will give you 96. And 0 times 4 will give you 0. In the numerators, when you simplify further, this is what you will end up getting. Now that the denominators are the same, you drop them and equate the numerators. Because if the denominators are the same, then the numerators must also be equal. All right. So this is the principle of equations. Obviously, here it'll be less or equals to. Once you've done this, you follow the same principle you factorize. Remember, don't change that inequality sign to equal sign. It'll always be less or equal to, less or equals to. As much as I'm telling you to treat it like an equal sign, don't write an equal sign, please. To factorize this, I also noticed that the last term is 96 and it's positive. So brackets will take the sound of the middle term, which is negative. Now I'm going to find two factors. When I multiply them, they should give me 96. But when I add them, they should give me 12. Those factors will be 12. I mean, they should give me 20. Those factors will be 12 and 8. Brackets will take the sign of the middle term because the last term is positive. After factorization, you need to find your critical values. Your critical values, it's where your factors are equal to 0. So you will take each factor and equate it to 0. You'll end up having x minus 12 is equals to 0 or x minus 8 is equals to 0. When you solve for x, the x will be 12 and x will be 8. These are critical values. You have to write them on the number line. When you write them on the number line, you start with the the lowest x value or x solution, which is 8, and the second one will be 12. Because our inequality sign is less or equal to, you will put shaded dots on top of 8 as well as 12. If we didn't have the equal part, you were just going to put open holes. Then you are going to test the values of x around your critical points. Critical points are the points where your equation will be equal to 0. When you substitute these critical points into equation, you will get an answer of 0. Now, I'm going to start with the values that are less than the lowest critical value of 8. And I will choose a random number. You can choose 7. You can choose 1. I chose 0 because that one is the easiest. You take that, you substitute it into the equation that you factorized. So wherever there's x, you will substitute 0, which will give you 96. Probably wondering, why didn't you just write it as 96? But instead you write it as plus 96. It's because it's not about the solution, it is about the sign. This is just a test to prove that for any value that is less than 8, I will always get a positive solution. Now, do the same thing. Test values between 8 and 12. So values that are greater than 8 but are less than 12. Choose any value and substitute it into the factorized equation. So the x value between 8 and 12, I chose 10. When I substitute it into x, I get negative 4. It's not about that 4, it's about the negative. So I know that any x value between 8 and 12 will give me a negative solution. Then choose any value that is greater than 12. Well, here I was easy. I just chose 13. Substitute 13, it'll give you 5. It's not about that 5, it's the plus, okay? I didn't write it here. It's about the plus, the positive. It means that for any x value that is greater than 5, you'll always get a positive solution. Now, Because the inequality wants us to find solutions that are less or equal to 0, it means that it's where our solutions are negative, which will be between 12 and 8. So x must be between 12 and 8 for us to have a value or solution that is negative. So x must be greater than 8, but else x must also be less than 12. And this is how I will allocate my marks. Okay, simplifying this. Oh, they gave us a fraction, and I'm just going to focus on this over here. In the numerator, I've got two terms. There's a plus in between. In the denominator, I've got two terms, but there's a minus in between. Focusing on just the numerator, obviously I have to factorize. We say we are trying to find an equivalent fraction. Remember the equivalent fraction from grade 8? For me to be able to do that, I need to factorize and divide by the highest common factor. Now, to factorize the numerator, because I've got two terms and there's a plus in between, I have to take out a common factor. And the only common base I see there is a. The common factor must always be the highest common factor. When it comes to variables, the highest common factor will be a common base with lowest exponent. My grade 8s normally say common base, lowest exponent. That's when you find the highest common factor. If it's a multiple, they normally say all the bases, common bases with highest exponent. Remember that? Yeah, it hasn't changed. It's just that now you're dealing with variables. So when you look at a in the first term, it has an exponent of 3x. The a in the second term, it has an exponent of 2x. So the a in the second term has the lowest exponent. So that a and its exponents will be the highest common factor. In the denominator, we also have a common base of a. But the a in the second term is the one that has the lowest exponents because it's 1x. The a in the first term is 3x. So 3 is greater than 1. So even in the denominator, a to the exponent of x will be our common factor. So these are my common factors. Take them out. So in brackets in the numerator, you'll be left with a to the exponent of x plus 2. Remember to test that if this is true, you just multiply out. So a to the exponent of 2x will give us times a to the exponent of x will give us a. You add the exponents. 2 plus 2x plus 1x will give you 3x, which is that one. Similarly, 2 times a to the exponent of x will give me 2a to the exponent of 2x. In the denominator, I am left with, in brackets, a to the exponent of 2x minus 4. And immediately when I saw that, I realized that is actually the difference of two squares. Now, is the first term, which is a to the exponent of 2x. Is this a perfect square? The answer is yes. So if I square root this, remember sets from grade 9 or 8, you will get a to the exponent of x. Because you just take this, you divide it by 2. 2x divided by 2 will give you x. Similarly, find the square root of 4. The square root of 4 will give you 2. So I can say that is a difference of two squares. So this is a difference of two squares. To factorize it, in the first bracket, I'll have a to the exponent of x as a first term, as well as in the second bracket, I'll have a to the exponent of x. The last terms in each bracket will be 2 and 2. Because this is a difference of two squares, brackets will I've said this is what I will have as my common factors. Now, note that with the factors that are divided, you always have to look at the ones that have the same base and exponent. Now, this is considered to be one factor and its exponent is 1. This is a factor and its exponent is 1, and they're the same. So if this is the case, you just cross them out. You can only cross across, it can only cross out across multiplication. That's why I say factors, because they must be multiplied. Please do not do this when terms are added or subtracted. Now, what am I going to be left with here? I'm going to change this fraction and divide it by 1. And then I will multiply this whole thing by a to the exponent of x. It'll just give me a to the exponent of x, open brackets, a to the exponent of x minus 2, close brackets. In the denominator, I'm only left with a to the exponent of x minus 2. Again here, same base, same exponent, divided, cross them out. And your final answer will be a to the exponent of x. That's it. Hope you enjoy that. Please try out question 2. That's it. Please, guys, watch the videos. And for me, what determines if I should continue with the paper is the views. If I realize the more views on this video, then I'll do question 2, question 3, until I have finished the entire paper. So spread the word, share the videos, let your friends talk about these cool channels. The more math videos you share, the more I will make. Okay. And I will try my utmost best to explain everything thoroughly to make sure that you're ready for that math paper. I do have 2023 paper 2 a video, and yeah, it's an IB paper 2. I also do have some DBE paper 1 videos. Please check them out, like and share with anyone that you know that is doing grade 12. Please don't forget that you do not skip the ads. That's how I get to make money or make more money or earn more money. I really appreciate your support. May peace be with you. Directly translated, Khotso.